Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Enterprise Mobility Insights Outlook podcast. I'm Gina Daniel Lee, Vice President of Strategic Alliances and Partnerships here at Stratix. I'm really excited about our conversation today because we're talking about Stratix's brand new 2023 Enterprise Mobility Report. As some of you may recall, this is a major research we do every year to look at enterprise mobility trends, how companies are leveraging mobile solutions, and what their pain points and solutions are. Given the current business climate, this year's report is especially interesting given the ongoing disruption still caused by the pandemic and the economic uncertainty that seems to still lie ahead. Regardless, though, in our conversation, we found enterprises are actually leveraging mobile tools to combat those challenges. My guest today is Stratix's very own Senior Vice President of Marketing, Elizabeth Klingseisen. Elizabeth is no stranger to our podcast, and I'm thrilled to welcome her back. Hi, Elizabeth. Great to have you back.
Hey, Gina. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so for folks who haven't heard from you before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, I manage the marketing team here at Stratix, and I've been here almost 4.5 years. Have a fantastic team, not only in marketing, but across the whole organization. There's a lot of talented people here at Stratix, and it's a really great team to work with. And of course, Gina, I really enjoy working with you and your team, and our OEM partners that we work with are the absolute best. It's exciting this year to launch this survey. This year marks Stratix's 40th anniversary. It's a huge milestone in this industry, and I think what makes my job exciting this year is not only do we get to celebrate that milestone, but Stratix is a company that's really been on the leading edge of mobile and innovation from the get-go. And so, 1983 to 2023, this is an exciting time to be with Stratix.
It really is an exciting time, and it's crazy to think you've only been here 4 years. It seems like a lot longer than that.
Some days it does.
Exactly. So, Elizabeth, wow, what another great report with some really good insights, right?
Absolutely. This year, I think even more than others, it's really timely research, and it works with what's happening in the industry around us. Just the insights really that bubble to the top were really insightful for us and very timely. It really mirrors what we're seeing in the market with our customers and our prospects.
Yeah, I agree. So before we jump in, give our listeners just a little bit of context around how your research is conducted.
So we worked with Hanover Research again this year to field a survey to IT and operational decision makers from organizations with over 1,000 employees. So we're really focused on mid-sized to enterprise organizations. We had 300 respondents for this year's survey, and the confidence interval of the survey was 95%. So we're really confident in the results of this survey.
Those are great numbers. I mentioned in my introduction that this year's research really highlights how important mobile is to the enterprise. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so really what stood out most for us is that we've gone through this evolution of from mobile being a nice to have to now it's really critical to operations. Organizations are really starting to think of mobile first and implement mobile first strategies. And I say that because 97% of our respondents said mobile is very or extremely important to their business. That's a huge number. There's 3% that are saying that it's not extremely important to their business. We also asked in the survey kind of what their priorities are in the various use cases and for these up and coming mobile solutions. What problems are they trying to solve? They're attacking digital transformation of workflows. They're looking at improving internal collaboration, And supply chain improvement topped the list this year. And what that tells us is these top three priorities really align with organizations' need to evolve how they're doing things, how to work smarter, and to solve the problems that they have. And adoption is moving faster than ever as well. We have this really true proliferation of mobile. 86% of our survey respondents are using more mobile now in their enterprise than they have in the last 3 years.
Wow, that's really significant. Unfortunately, we're in this climate of continued disruption and economic uncertainty, right? Why is mobile so important now?
Well, in times of uncertainty, leaders really they look to mitigate the risks, right?
Right.
And we just came through this global pandemic and saw that those organizations that emerged had mobile were able to quickly pivot to things like delivery, curbside. They didn't have to shut down. They had more efficient supply chain solutions in place. So leaders have recognized and they know that mobile provides that nimbleness, efficiency, better user experiences, and allows them to meet their business outcomes. And, at the end of the day, mobile is a very cost effective way to not only weather tough times, but move faster to take advantage of new opportunities. And it's that ROI that's in there as well, right? It's the ROI of mobile investments is very high. It's predictable, and organizations that do it well are and implement mobile well are very financially sound in their strategic investments.
So, how is the use of mobile evolving, Elizabeth?
Mm, Great question. Um, Enterprise leaders will invest more in mobile during economic uncertainty to achieve those efficiencies and cost savings, right? Which drive competitiveness, but it also takes out that risk. But what we're seeing is every part of mobile, from tablets to smartphones, wearables, and IoT, we're seeing investments across the board in all those different technologies because these enterprise leaders are looking for every advantage that they can squeeze from technology. So 59% are using more wearables now than they were in the last 3 years. That's a huge number.
It
But
is.
if you think about how hands-free makes it easier to work, be more productive, improve communication, collaboration, um, from alerts to messages, everything is in real time. And with wearables, everyone is more efficient on your team. And uh, I mean, we've known all along that IoT is an emerging and very important part, but 67% are now using more IoT devices, and they're finding really new and innovative ways to use it to deliver that wealth of valuable data back to the organization.
Yeah, that's a great point about IoT. I mean, we're seeing a lot more expansion in IoT with our partners too. Again, certainly everyone is aware of the carrier 5G component to connect more, right? But there are access cameras in retail. There's RFID solutions from Zebra in the warehouse and logistics facilities, solutions like FarEye from Honeywell for capacity planning and routing. I mean, there's a lot of exciting solutions being deployed out there right now.
Totally. It's really cool to see how organizations are really leveraging that technology. And we're on the leading and bleeding edge of it. And it's really, really fun.
It is. We talked a little bit about evolution, in terms of mobile evolving in the enterprise, but what does this evolution actually mean for IT teams?
Yeah. So enterprise leaders have really realized that, everyone has mobile, right? But the winners are now becoming those who deploy it and manage it best. They have to manage a lot of things like the cost of the solutions, the quality, the ubiquity, frictionless deployments, and the support of that end user and the employees are really critically important. So the proliferation of this mobile and the use cases around it are really driving these IT teams to feel the burnout. You know, in our survey, 75% of IT leaders said their teams are feeling like really overwhelmed by the size and diversity of the tech stacks that they're now managing. So it's really this dichotomy for IT leaders to deal with, right? They need to drive further investment in mobile, more use cases, different types of devices, but how do they implement it and manage it successfully without burning out? And that's a huge problem.
It is. And what are some of the challenges with mobile for enterprises?
Yeah, so repeatedly we're hearing endpoint security and keeping track of the status of devices are concerns that bubble to the top and stand out across all of our research. And in fact, more than half of our survey respondents don't have reports or controls in place to even see what their entire mobile environment is through a single pane of glass or to be able to secure it and lock it down.
That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're seeing that in especially in, I'll use an example from our franchise organizations. So, typically a franchisor has no idea of the number of devices that are deployed, where they are in the franchisee's environments, who has opted in, who has not opted in to technology programs, and are those devices secured and locked down for the enterprise organization's applications. So solutions like asset management, endpoint security are really critical to these, especially in the franchise organization. So that's been an interesting one to watch evolve, and it definitely is a pain point. We've also saw in our that there's kind of a bright light. We are seeing that many organizations are now starting to recognize that they need this holistic strategy that can look across their enterprise and see all of their assets, what they're investing in, and making that technology stack work together in repeatable ways. And those organizations that have implemented this holistic strategy towards their mobile technology are really reaping benefits of better productivity, improved internal communication, employee satisfaction, and nimbleness, for sure.
Those are some significant pain points, though, Elizabeth, especially for an enterprise organization. How are we seeing enterprises take on some of these challenges and combat them?
Yes. So enterprise leaders really recognize that everyone has the mobile technology, but the winners are going to be those who deploy it best and manage it best. And interestingly, more so than in previous times, 75% of our respondents are partnering with an MMSP or a managed mobile service provider to help solve those particular pain points around IT burnout, security, and asset management. Not 100% outsourced, but only 25% are trying to do it themselves and manage everything in-house now. And what we've seen from that 75% is that partnerships are really helping them to combat two main things. One is the IT team burnout. And in our survey, 78% of our respondents said that their MMSP was very or extremely helpful in helping to combat that IT team burnout. And if you think about it, you're taking the heavy lift to the day-to-day and applying tools and processes that really alleviate that IT team burnout. And then the other side of that is the strategic mobile investment. So how do I invest? Which technologies are the best for my use cases? So 82% of our respondents said that their MMSP was very or extremely helpful in guiding them and directing them with their strategic mobile investments.
So as we wrap up our podcast, Elizabeth, and the questions, what are some of the big reveals, if you will, and conclusions from this year's research?
So I think there are kind of three main conclusions from this year's research. So investing in mobile is no longer a nice to have. It's a must have. Everyone is doing it. And especially to reduce the risk and uncertainty. Not that I want to scare our listeners, Gina, and it's not something we haven't all read in Forbes magazine already, but there is a looming recession. And the investment in mobile helps to de-risk that impending recession and will allow people to be more nimble. So the investment in mobile is going to continue. The use cases are going to keep expanding. We need to find ways to reduce that complexity and still continue to invest. And partnering with MMSPs is going to be the way to do that, because we know there are challenges with this proliferation of mobile. There's organizations have really learned that their IT teams have reached that point, and in order to maintain the integrity of their asset management and the security of their devices, they have got to partner with providers to help and experts to help reduce those risks. Those are the kind of three key things.
Well, that certainly sounds like good news for Stratix, for sure.
Yes.
So, as you know, we like to end the podcast with some rapid fire questions. So, my first one for you is morning person or night owl?
I am definitely a night owl. I have my peak in the evening. Not that I'm not a nice person in the morning, but I like my slow starts in the morning.
You and me both. So, I think I know the answer to this one, but travel or staycation?
Oh, definitely the travel. So, I went to Peru in this past November and
Yes.
hiked up to some very high summits. So that was fun. And Iceland is on my target destination next.
Oh, very good. So finally, if you had to be trapped on a desert island with one fictional character, who would it be?
This is impossible. So I really don't want to date myself, but I always thought the professor from Gilligan's Island was the bomb. So he would be my go-to for
I love that. I love
desert
that.
island.
I love it. So, Elizabeth, it was great to have you back on the podcast today. Thank you so much for sharing with us the insights from the report. Again, just a really great report this year and a lot of great information.
Thanks for having me, Gina.
And listeners, if you liked what you heard and would like more information or would like to sign up for future episodes, please visit us at stratixcorp.com/podcast to subscribe. We'd also love it if you'd rate and leave a review for any podcast that you've listened to or would like to suggest any future topics you'd like us to explore. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.